my hero. You will show me what I gotta do. Made up my mind, wanna be like you, don't care. Whatever people say, I know I'll resurface you.
I am here!
Then what did I get tickets for? Oh my god. I've always wanted to see that movie! Ever since the heroic world of My Hero Academia made its explosive anime debut back in April of 2016, it's amazing how much of a ruckus the community has created over how passionate they are for this action-packed shonen series straight from the mind of Kohei Horikoshi, that the announcement of a film being greenlit so soon after its release seemed like a no-brainer, especially with the well-known Studio Bones at the helm of the series' production. And in August of 2018, My Hero Academia 2 Heroes came smashing its way onto the box office, delivering the heart and soul that the series has been well known for. The premise of this film has the #1 hero All Might taking the young Izuku Midoriya on a trip to the artificially made island known as Island, where many of the world's scientists research the use of quirks while creating all sorts of support items to help heroes in their line of work, and is also home to Melissa Shield, a young scientist in training who requested All Might to the island in order to surprise her father, David Shield, one of the top scientists when it comes to designing tech on the island and the former partner of the #1 hero from his time in America. But this happy reunion quickly takes a trip down south as the villain Wolfram and his subordinates crash the main event, using the strict security system to not only restrict all the heroes, but also have every citizen on the island as a hostage. With no way to contact help from the outside, it's up to Deku and his fellow classmates to band together with Melissa and regain control of the security system in order to put a stop to these villains' plans like the true heroes they want to become. Now, seeing how this film is taking place in the world of Hero Aka, if you're going to see this movie or even watch this review, it's a safe bet that you're already familiar with the lovable cast of Classroom 1A, so I don't need to spend too much time introducing the fan favorite heroes they focused on in this huge milestone for the franchise. The temperamental and often explosive Bakugo was invited to the island after his performance in the sports festival, bringing along the earnest and hardworking Kirishima along for the ride as his +1. The floaty, bubbly spirit Uraraka and super hearing Jiro made it to the island as +1s of the modestly regal Momo after a fair competition of rock, paper, scissors from the rest of the girls on 1A. The responsible and quick to act Ida was invited in the place of his family, and the same goes for the icy hot nicknamed Todoroki due to his father's status as the #2 hero. The electrifying goofball Kaminari managed to get work on the island along with Mineta. Well, they all can't be winners, I guess, but even this grape-headed hero managed to get on board. By creating a superhero-centric kind of society where practically everyone has some sort of ability unique to them that can help keep the innocent out of harm's way, it would make sense that there would be many people out there working the daily 9-to-5 grind supporting the fight against evil, and the concept of a giant island dedicated to that cause alone works well here. Island serves as not only the central hub for the story that takes place in the film, but a setting that helps flesh out the world of My Hero outside of the academy and its school activities, giving us a better look into the grand scheme of working as a licensed hero and how important it is for the constant development to be made in the ongoing fight against villains. I really like how they drive home how important this facility and the work being done here is by emphasizing that all the scientists permanently live on the island so their work remains top secret, and the security level being up to the same standards as Tartarus, the world's most secure prison, which story-wise truly sets a stage for something to go wrong, of course, but still linking itself to the big picture being painted of the world. Granted, there is some debate whether or not the story that takes place in this film fits into the canon created by Kohei, as the events of 2 Heroes are set between the 2nd and 3rd season of the anime. They aren't ever acknowledged further in the manga besides a tie-in chapter or in the anime with their filler episode of Love promoting the movie. But those 2 promotions do help fit the movie into the timeline, so I like to think if you wanted to count this movie as canon, you can— oh my god, it's Godzilla as a pro hero! Damn it, this is canon, no debate about it! Arguably one of the best things to come out of the story, and just the franchise in general, is the new in-depth look at the past of the best hero All Might and how his Deku's trademark uniform came to be thanks to his former partner David. Even being gifted with the powerful quirk One for All, becoming the #1 hero obviously wouldn't happen overnight, so the idea of having All Might be a transfer student in America is not only a fun concept, but is completely realistic in an already unrealistic kind of world and helps solidify the reach of his future fame and hope to every country in the world, not just Japan. If Captain America is considered to be America's ass, then All Might is officially Japan's ass because damn! This was also a great way of introducing the idea of a sidekick helping alongside All Might's hero work in a way that makes sense, because obviously when it came to physical strength, All Might can more than handle his own, but more of a technical kind of support that only someone like David could provide. The whole opening sequence of the duo chasing down a robber was filled with the kind of cheesy superhero fan service you would expect from American comics, from the designs of the pro heroes to even a Batmobile-like vehicle that David drives around in with All Might, which is so fitting for this kind of backstory and just the overall theme of the series. The relationship between heroes and the support team is very essential in keeping order in society, and this partnership truly captures that idea while giving a small glimpse into the history of our hero and one of his most important friends he made along the way, which is a truly sweet thing to see in any kind of story. Of course, Deku being All Might's successor to the power of One for All means that his road to becoming a hero just like him is going to be filled with similar yet very different kinds of steps, but one common denominator would be getting support from the people around them, especially the Shield family, but in his case it would be from Melissa. This optimistic and curious spirit is working herself through Island's Academy in order to become a top scientist like her father and be able to help heroes just like Deku, who she quickly realizes is holding back with his quirk, and offers a special gauntlet of her design in order to use it at full power. Not only does this match the same kind of beats of how her father designed equipment to withstand All Might's power, but also matches the parallel of Deku's own life, as Melissa revealed that she is quirkless just like he was before, but was more determined than ever not to give up on her dreams, which is an inspiring character trait to have, and a healthy outlook on what could be considered devastating to most, such as the case of Deku when he was diagnosed at a young age. It's also a big development just having another connection in his life that could understand the feeling of being in such a rare group so different from the rest of the world, and seeing that person still working hard despite that inspires him further to keep going towards his goals, which is great relatability for the characters and the audience. You know, Uraraka, I think I would get why you would react like this more if you truly knew how much they had in common. Now, the main event of this story is centered around the idea of the whole island being exclusive to the guests and its inhabitants for the time being, and a formal party is being thrown to celebrate the success of Island before its attractions are open to the general public, which gives our characters the chance to show off their best formal attire, but also gives the villains the perfect opportunity to strike up something sinister, which is exactly what happens when Wolfram crashes the party. While these villains don't come off as super threatening to deal with, they don't have to, as using the entire island's defenses as a means to keep everyone down and in danger is a predictable but smart way to make sure your demands are met, and when you mix that with the unpredictability of their quirks, makes the situation extra dangerous, but would lead to some entertaining situations for our heroes to have to deal with. But some of the best segments to come from this movie involves me talking about specific action-packed moments that require me to put up the good old spoiler warning here and a timestamp you can skip to make sure I don't become a villain in your eyes and ruin your time with the film. Dad Might would be so proud. As most people know in this day and age, being fashionably late to a party is often the cool way to go about making an appearance for your social standings, definitely an intentional trend and not just because people get lost all the time. But luckily, thanks to Deku's group being late to meeting up, they are in the perfect position to climb their way through the tower in order to free the island from the clutches of the villains. Now, it's important to remember they are all still students, and this isn't some kind of training that would have a safety net in case something were to go wrong, and this leads to actual strategizing being made in order to best safely rescue everyone like a pro hero would do, leading to a wordless conversation between the contained All Might and Deku, with the latter stating, "Don't worry, we can handle this," and was a nice moment of being frustrated but still very proud on All Might's part, truly showcasing the father-son bond those two have developed this far in the series. Of course, it wouldn't be a true shonen kind of movie if it was just a simple path ahead, as not only do the villains attempt to stop the kids, but also use the island's security measures to apprehend them, leading the hero class to utilize their quirks to persevere on ahead with the good old smashing way, and even some more creative situations like when commisioned attempts to shock the robots into shutting down. One of Hero Aka's best traits is the variety of its cast and all the powers they wield, which does make the choice of turning down some of the more favored students having an essential role in this movie for Mineta to have his time in the sun seem bonkers, but for as ridiculous as the character acts, I do have to admit his heroic action of climbing towards the vent was actually a little amusing and was a clever use for him to be important to the story, albeit only for a short moment, but it counts. When Deku and Melissa reach the top of the tower, they see David and his assistant retrieving a quirk-enhancing device that was confiscated from him due to it being deemed too risky to be made for general use, and this whole villain attack was staged so David can give it to All Might in order to restore his former powers. This was kinda a predictable plot twist with how much they foreshadowed David's concern over the past, and of course you can see the villains turning on him for their own selfish reasons coming from a mile away because they're villains, but even then, that doesn't mean it's any less heartbreaking seeing Melissa in tears over this, and still a good emotional buildup of Deku trying to rescue David despite his actions. Once All Might arrives on the scene, Wolfram activates the device for himself and transforms into truly a final boss kind of villain, overwhelming All Might with his power and multiple quirks bestowed on him by the main series villain All For One, further tying the events here into the main story. Weakened and out of luck, the rest of the students make their way to the fight and cheer All Might on, and with his successor Deku ready to fight by his side, the two charge forward to end this fight once and for all in one of the most epic ways that could have only been done at this point in the story. A double Detroit smash so amazingly executed that it made me feel a mixture of so much hype and emotions that were reminiscent of the famous father-son Kamehameha from Dragon Ball Z, but still feeling unique on its own and truly captured the feeling of plus ultra. With everything finally done and over with, All Might and David finally get to talk about the regrets that were shared this day and explain how Deku will one day take up the mantle of the #1 hero once he truly masters One For All, which after seeing firsthand the successor in action, David finally has faith that the world will be okay long after All Might retires. At the same time, an even sweeter moment happens of Melissa thanking Deku for everything he has done, but is truthfully reminded that if it wasn't for her device or knowledge of the facility, they couldn't have succeeded, and the support she can offer is just as important as any of the hero work that can be done in the world. While this is a heartwarming ending for the film, it also truly connects everything to the idea of what this story was trying to convey with its title Two Heroes and theme of support being necessary for a true hero to succeed. All Might and David's friendship is the catalyst for the actions that took place here on the island, but also a strong desire to keep the dream of the #1 hero going, which is representative of how there's always another side of hero work that is just as valuable and necessary in the fight to keep peace in the world, even if David was misguided with going about this in the end. But even after everything is said and done, it's the next generation's turn in order to strive forward in keeping the peace, which in this case is the two brand new heroes Deku and Melissa taking over the mantles left behind by David and All Might, setting the way for a brand new legacy to be born out of their future heroic work. Man, I really wish the events of this movie can be worked into the series sometime down the line. Melissa is a great character who I think would add a lot to the story in its entirety and be a great partner for Deku to work with in the future. If you had to pick one thing that Studio Bones is known for, more than likely it would be its top quality animation that you would pick, as they have been delivering top-notch animated sequences for each episode of the main series, so of course for this animated feature they would be bringing their A game. Every action sequence, whether it be short-lived or one of the longer drawn-out sequences, is fantastically expressed with really fluid motion and solid visuals capturing the atmosphere of the moments happening on screen. Like when you see All Might deliver an intense California smash attack, you can almost feel the force emanating from it, or how the fast movement of full cowling has its sparks trail behind, adding more detail to the motion on screen. While some of the designs like the villains aren't super noteworthy, you can tell they still gave plenty of attention in making sure the quirks they used were unique and distinct when they appeared alongside all the quirks we were already familiar with, which also looked as good as ever when being utilized throughout the story. The use of bright visuals helped showcase the lightheartedness feel of the island, while also using extra cheery styles when showing off the formal attire of the cast, adding to the comedy bits that would soon follow after. I can only imagine how the cast would have handled themselves in the actual party setting, especially with strict as ever Ida having to remind the class that they are representing UA Academy and how he would prevent the antics of Mineta, but I felt just them talking about the idea was enough to bring up a few laughs while steadily keeping the flow of the narrative running smoothly. Don't worry everyone, I'm sure one day in the series there will be a formal dance moment. After all, the series still has a school setting. The soundtrack of the film film is composed by Yuki Hayashi, the same composer from the anime series, and he created a perfect mix of the tracks from the past seasons with all new original ones for this theatrical debut, perfectly composing music that captures the intense feelings of excitement when showcasing the more heroic-centric moments, or even the darker tones of sinister emotions of the villains taking over the screen. While there is no opening or ending for me to discuss like I normally would, I can say for certain that from the very first couple minutes you feel the same kind of energy that you've already come to know from the series just from the music playing with the visuals alone, and that's exactly what you want if you are a fan of the series, seeing your favorite characters on the big screen for the very first time. While I did watch this movie subbed recently for this review, I actually saw it dubbed first back when it was being shown in theaters, and let me just add, that is an amazing kind of experience hearing everything through a big surround system like that. While there are obviously some dialogue changes between the two versions, both voice casts did an amazing job portraying the old characters we know, and especially the new ones being introduced to us. Justin Briner and Christopher Sabat portraying Deku and All Might's dynamic in the dub doesn't miss a beat when it comes to showcasing the bond these two share, and is just as good of a performance as the Japanese voice actors Daiki Yamashita and Kenta Miyake, bringing that dynamic we have come to know and love to life on screen. Overall, while the plot did have its shortcomings when it came to predictability and having some characters get sidelined to some very short snippets, this movie did a fantastic job when it came to bringing the world of My Hero Academia to the big screen for the very first time, and delivered on some amazingly intense action sequences that we could have only seen in this kind of way. The idea of taking something that is normally isolated to 20-ish minute long episodes and extending it into a full hour-and-a-half feature-length presentation is no easy feat to pull off as well as they did here. So much love and care for the characters were put into this film that the fans can appreciate, and the budget was definitely put to great use, delivering an entertaining experience for anyone to enjoy. Especially with the recap segments that weren't necessary, but still is nice being there for people who are seeing this world for the first time without taking up too much time of the film. I give My Hero Academia 2 heroes, 8 security robots out of 10, and I highly recommend this film to be watched by all the inspiring heroes out there. If you end up wanting more after finishing the movie, there's plenty of the anime out currently until season 4 premieres this fall, and a second movie has already been confirmed to be in the works, and you bet I'm gonna channel Ida's engine quirk to be the first one in line to see it. And that, my friends, was the season 2 premiere of my channel. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. As I mentioned in the season 1 Q&A finale, this was supposed to be the other part of me capping off my first year on YouTube, but due to timing it couldn't be done. But you know, since I started off the channel with a Hero Aka video, this felt like a fitting way to kick off a brand new season for everyone returning and the newcomers to the channel as well. If you enjoyed the review, overclocking that like button would send a huge wave of support for the channel, and if you're wanting to keep up to date for new reviews and discussion videos every month, smashing through that subscribe button would be the best way to make sure you don't miss out on the future of this channel. And trust me, there are some videos I'm super excited to be making coming down the pipeline that you're not gonna want to miss. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time I experienced the struggles of a hero living a double life before it was accepted into society.